Be careful, listen, because after that there will be a quiz and you will be able to win. Then we'll announce the next Webmardi, and you will have also the chance to come here during the open mic session. It's a place for everyone. If ever you are looking for a job, you are looking to hire someone, or you have a really fun project, that's the place, and you can share it with the community. Or if you feel shy, you can also do it during the apéro in person. And then, of course, the apéro. The Webmardi is a non-profitable association that is run by 8 people. So we have Nelson, which is taking care of the streaming tonight. We have Margot and Alexia that you were able to see when you came. And Asia, which is not there tonight, but she's taking care of the pictures for the Webmardi. Then Uli and Sebastian, which are taking care of the communication, and Kevin and myself, which are doing other things. Such, oh, Kevin is taking the picture tonight and organizing everything with the speaker as well. Thanks to our sponsors, they help us financially to organize the events. So without them, we wouldn't be able to provide you an apéro, sometimes to find somewhere to host the event. And they also help us to finance all the tools we need to run the Webmardi, such as all the streaming materials and the software that we use to publish all the communications. Tonight, we organize this meetup at Jobtrek. Jobtrek is a foundation that is helping young people to find an apprenticeship. So whenever they struggle to find one, there are coaches here that help them find a place to work, get into the work environment. And they exist since 2015, and since then they helped more than 60 people, young people, to find an apprenticeship and to succeed afterward in the professional world. So they are located here in Lausanne, but also in Yverdon-les-Bains. So if ever you know someone that is struggling to find an apprenticeship, Jobtrek is there to help them. So feel free to also share about them on social medias. They are also one of our sponsors, so thank you to Jobtrek. If ever you have any other question about them, just come to me during the apéro, or feel free to reach them via their website. Kevin will take some pictures tonight. If ever you don't feel to be in those pictures, just let us know during the apéro. We'll find a way to remove you or to make you not appear directly on the pictures. Also important informations, the restrooms are just on the left side when you enter next to the kitchen. So that's for the location. I won't talk much more than that. Thank you, Isaline, for joining us tonight. I give you the stage.
Here we go. So titles are really important. I struggle to find my titles, so pick any one of these you like. Basically, I'm going to discuss how I use tool. When I say tool, I'm meaning different types. So it can be tools like DeepL who translate, but also tools like ChatGPT who function differently than a tool like DeepL who translate. We'll get to that. And what I'm talking about is really so about these tools, but in the situation of my work, which is SEO. And I'm going to especially discuss what I call the traffic light system, or traffic light framework is how I deal with my clients to help them distribute budgets and use the tools. So yeah, be my guest, just choose. Like I changed twice my title, I couldn't change more. So I am an SEO, I have the profile of a senior SEO. I'm working currently as a consultant for my company. Before that, I was working in an agency. Specifically, I'm specialized in multilingual SEO. So I work for websites for companies located in the Swiss-German parts of Switzerland, and they want to target the Swiss-French part. So that's really the context, and I'm trying to help them find us, sort of, if they can, in the best way possible. So in the industry of SEO, this is called SEO localization. That's how we call what I do. When I prepared that talk, I organized it thinking about someone who's a project manager and someone who's a website owner and who has to, well, get that content, basically translate or adapt that content to French, which is, in my head, it's initially written in German, but obviously if the content is initially written in English or other languages, like most of what I'm going to say tonight also works. What I'm hoping that you'll get at the end of the talk is a way to understand how context is important on the website and for the audience, and a way to prioritize how you're going to use your tools and how you're going to adapt that content for a specific audience, which is, I call it the second language, because it's not the original language where the content was initially created. So I'm hoping that you'll understand how you can use those tools and how you cannot or should not use those tools, and especially to discuss with your stakeholders for them to understand that it's not magic, it's not exactly working as they might think. So you can help them really balance their budgets and see, okay, here's what we can expect really, like, are people going to contact us on that website or not, basically. So I think in the past, this was the situation, like someone like, basically this is like, imagine a Swiss-German company and one of them says like, ah ja, Ursinas Buchhaltung kann ein bisschen Französisch, ja. And then they go and pick up that person in other departments, and that person is going to translate whatever is to translate. So today we have tools, so we can leave our colleagues alone, but like it doesn't mean that it works, right? So, and the thing is, when it's a campaign like this one, the mistakes is immediate. Us as the audience, we notice it immediately, and it can, like, it sort of builds a momentum. So usually you have something in the papers and some stuff, and we laugh about it. But so it costs a lot, but also in terms of the company, there's the momentum, and then it's gone. So everybody noticed it was bad. Okay, let's go to the next thing. But the thing is, when we're discussing about a website, the symptoms of a bad translation is a little bit difficult to spot, and it can be unnoticed. So the way you can see that something is wrong with the translations is when you have a poor traffic. So I'm not talking absolute numbers, because obviously numbers are going to be smaller, because like just the segment of the population is smaller. But you can still notice if you filter the traffic for Switzerland per folder, like /fr, for instance, you're going to notice there are discrepancies. Something is wrong. It's not working as it should. Or maybe you have traffic. It happens for lots of clients. They have traffic for France, but the market is specifically Switzerland. So obviously that's useless for them. But it's just because it's not the right content. Like it's not driving traffic for the actual market. Another thing, so of course they have poor leads, like you're not selling your product. And another thing that is underestimated is the costs for customer care. So that's another thing. You might sell your product or service, but people might not understand it, or they have questions. And so they're going to contact you, and they're going to contact you repeatedly to ask questions. And this is so, or they're going to, like, they don't find the information. So sometimes the information is there somewhere on the website, but it's so badly written that can't be found. Like people don't find it and or don't understand it. So it costs a lot of money to just answer to all of these people. So these are usually the symptoms. So when people come to me, one of these things is going on for them, and I'm here to provide solutions. So usually the expected process Swiss Germans have in their head is like, oh yeah, so we're going to create content for Zurich or wherever we're making business. We're going to translate it and we're going to cash in, right? Because yeah, that's Switzerland. But so they have this idea that they're going to translate that content 101, so just take it and transpose it for other people, and it's the same. So transposing content 101, it can work for legal documents, but a website, well, of course, if you have the mentions, confidentiality page and these type of things, but a website is not a legal document. You don't translate it one-on-one. So any of this statement is wrong, because when you translate something, it's always an adaptation. So the person who is translating the text is going to make editorial choices. So it's either you have, as a website owner, control or just a sort of an overview of the choices that the person is going to make, or that person is going to make those choices. And the person chooses whether the contents will be really close to the original text, or like how much editorial liberty you have to adapt that content to the audience. And so this is not only on how the content is organized. Swiss German typically explain a lot of things before they arrive at the conclusion. Us, if you remember your dissertation classes at school, we state the topic in the introduction, this is what we're going to say, and then we go into details. So they are differently, like it's just we organize information differently in our head, but also in terms of languages, whoever adapts the content is going to choose a version of French. So, and we don't agree between cantons. Like if you think about la taxe automobile, l'impôt sur les plaques, impôt sur les voitures, impôt de la circulation. These are all things we say, but so same but all different. So if you don't tell what you want, a person is going to make those decisions for you. So really it's about the context matters, and the context of where the audience is, but also the context of where that specific word or expression is on a website. We're going to translate very differently something that is a menu or that's a button than something that's also a call to action, but can be an anchor text, for instance. So I know that it's a possibility to export all content on an Excel sheet and get it through a tool and have that, and then upload that Excel sheet back to the website to have the translation. But the thing is, the tool doesn't understand those contexts. So what it's going to use for the buttons is not necessarily what's best for the actual use where it's placed on the website. So yeah. I hear you, like I heard that a lot actually. Oh, that sounds so complicated. Well, yes, that's the thing, because at school, that's what we learn. We're like, okay, so we need to adapt that content for the audience and target it and customize it and da. Well, but yeah, it works the same for two different languages, because these are still two different type of people who live in different situation, right? So yeah, it's very complicated to have content that is visible, if possible, is visible on page 1, ideal scenario, and converts, so gets you those leads. Yeah, that costs a lot. So I think that's a good introduction for any of your clients you are talking to, is that I'd rather start with being transparent. Yeah, well, let's do this thing. But so that's my usual situation when I arrive on a website. I'm at the bottom of the pyramid, and I'm like, okay, so either they take some budget, and let's be honest, usually I arrive, I'm at the bottom of, like, there's nothing left, and also I'm called last. So it's not like they can take budget from design to give me some, like, nope. Like, it's ready, and they're like, oh yeah, actually we're launching some new pages, and I'm like, okay. So my actual, like, my challenge really is, okay, so I have a little bit of budget. It's not zero, but it's small. So, like, but I need to use it in a very smart way to really get the most of it. And when, as an SEO, when I think get the most of that budget is get organic traffic, ideal scenario, also get conversion. So that's here the main part of the talk is what I do to do that and what you can do too. So the first thing is really prioritization. And also remember that when you prioritize something, it means you unprioritize something else. And this is really hard to hear for lots of people. Like, because if you concentrate on something, you're going to put another thing on the side for a while. So that's the first point. You have two different ways of doing it. And then you need to define what is the effort that you expect, like how much effort and what really is this effort. And then you can choose your options, so your tools, like how you're going to adapt. And last thing, really, again, manage expectations, because as soon as you have some budget to do some translation, expectations are it's going to work. And reality is, not always. And, again, you have unprioritized parts of the website, so it's not going to work on those parts. So prioritize. You have two ways. Your first option is to prioritize a step in your marketing funnel. For instance, let's say that you're paying lots of money in customer care, which means that you're going to prioritize the advocacy and loyalty steps. So you're going to prioritize any type of content that explains your product for someone who is using it. You don't want to lose clients. You want them to keep using your service. Or let's say that you really want to be visible for any keywords that is your company name and your service. So that's conversion, and you want to prioritize anything that is a service page. So that's a way to do it, is to choose a step. Some people also choose, like they want to do awareness. If you want to do awareness, like you can prioritize anything that's informational, and that is discussing the issues the audience has and potential solutions. So these steps, you find them then in different parts of your website. Other way you have to do it is to choose a vertical. So choosing a vertical would be choosing a specific product. And you could choose to optimize that vertical at each step of the marketing funnel. This happens very often when a company is launching a new product, for instance. They want to say, we want this product or this service to be visible, and they're going to optimize the whole content, but only for that product. So then you need to define effort, and that's where the traffic light system comes into force. So green light is all effort. So green light is for the person who's optimizing the content, all effort in. So it means that your acceptance criteria is going to be the most difficult to reach, like it's exigeant, and you have a long checklist. You have a long list of things you want to do in your content. Orange light is like sort of in the middle. For orange light, I mostly use what I call an automatic translation. So I would use a tool like DeepL or ChatGPT, and then I would manually, so a human check only specific points. But I would not redo the entire content. It means that there are things I don't do. That's really difficult to see something I find not 100% good, but just leave it out because it's not on the checklist. And red light is like, I do nothing. It's just a robot doing it. And the options. So the translation options are actually really various. You could hire people who are here, local. You could do cheaper and hire someone that is in France or wherever else. Or you can choose a tool, and any types of tools you have, some are paying, some are sort of, so some of them are paying and you can sort of rent the technology and only use your data. Some of them are paying, but like ChatGPT, you don't rent only the tech, you rent the fact that it has been trained already. And some of them are free, of course, and you can just like use them. So from the top is going to be obviously what's the most expensive, because you have a human doing some strategizing in SEO and doing some localization. You have a human looking at the content, copywriting the content in the actual context. Of course, so you can do only copywriting, no SEO work, etc. The usual expectation is that any tool is going to be free of charge. Like most of the companies are like, oh yeah, why not use ChatGPT? And then it's like, no tool needs to be trained. Yeah, like prompts write themselves, and also, like, if you use DeepL with a license, you can feed into it like your brand vocabulary or this type of things. So you can do things to train the tool. But the expectation really is that it's going to work for free. And they like when I create an offer and I'm like, okay, so you don't like, you want to use a tool, okay, but so what budget to train it, you know, like how methodologically are you going to use it? But they're like, oh, do we have to do that? So yes, you do. So really the reality, and I've just started really learning about that, is the reality, the variety of tool is like, it's very different. Something like ChatGPT works completely different than something like DeepL who matches the words. So really like, it's not just, don't look just at the outputs, but really look at how the tool works, because the output is going to be really different. That's for another talk, but yeah, really, it's passionnant, really. So I love it. So I really think that tools are great, really up to a point, but it's good to know when and where to stop. And the sort of sad thing is that usually people realize that they're not great because, again, it's visible in the data. So compare organic traffic, compare conversion, and you see that something is wrong. So what works for me, it's really a balance between what I call impact on business and reading experience. So impact on business is leveraging any on-page SEO best practice and leveraging everything that is about conversion. Like reading experience is anything that makes it nice to read a text, but that is much more difficult to pinpoint because, so there are things, but it's more humanly made and it takes longer to do. It can be anything like not using the passive voice, which happens a lot because German use the passive voice like everywhere with lots of adverbs, and we tend to like just cancel all of this because it doesn't work, it's too heavy in French. So that's the reading experience. So basically what we do is we do SEO and copywriting. So it means we strategize with SEO and we work on the text in context. For us, Orange, it's using a tool. So something like DeepL and some sentences, sort of rephrasing it with ChatGPT maybe, and doing a selection of manual check. So manual check would be only doing the keyword research and checking the title tags, checking the buttons, checking the anchor text. So this really depends on the brand. And tool only, while not a priority, is I do nothing. So what's interesting here is that we do not work with a translator who work out of context of a website. So the checklist items, really, they can be about different things. So they can be anything that's on-page SEO. So as I said, checking the title tags, checking the length of the titles, the density of the keywords, how the keywords are used. Anything that's branding, that would be lots of things about how we address a user, like how we talk to someone, how formal we are. Or also anything that's related to the name of the product or the service, or anything specific to the company. Conversion, that's the button, and again, that's to making people click, basically. And reading experience, as I said, it's really stylistic, like grammatical changes to make the text nice. So the important thing to remember is that the checklist, the Orange checklist, needs to be short, because there is no point having a very long Orange checklist if you use a bot. Because if you spend too long reworking what the bot did, then you could have as well just starting doing it with a human. So there's no point really. So there's no point really doing that. Like the point of using so any content that is translated by an AI, so you have the actual information since it exists in German, and you use something to translate it. If you ask me to humanize that content, I'm like, beyond the checklist, so either you are specific with the checklist that is short and understandable, or you just don't do it, because otherwise, why doing it in the first place? Because it's going to take time, so like it makes no sense in terms of investments and budget distribution. So here are the tips to create your own checklist. The first thing is, so using tools to do the strategic SEO work, I do not recommend it. So if you take your Excel sheets with your keyword research and you use a tool to translate it, it just doesn't get it. It's like the words, they're not specific. It's like, so this is, c'est une machine de chantier, si jamais. So that's completely wrong. So the keyword research, which is the basis of any SEO work, so any organic traffic, it has to be targeted. So search keywords for a purpose. You search keywords because you search the keywords for specific pages, or you search keywords to find your keyword gap or something. But don't translate a keyword research to translate, like it's going to tell you nothing useful really. Also, tools typically sound French. That's the thing. They are very flowery. I don't know. They say lots of words to say very few things most of the time. So, and to me, that sounds typically French. And they want to translate everything, where a particular of us in Swiss Romand is that we use a lot of Anglicism, and that's okay for us, and we get it, right? And so we're going to use the same words in German and in French. So tools don't get it. They just sound like, I don't know, they add. If ChatGPT adds stuff, why? I don't know. So if you want to sound remotely Swiss Romand, it's like ChatGPT is not going to work. Also, anything that is gender neutral or use anything as a bracket, asterisk, or anything is going to be automatically to masculine. So any inputs, even inputs that are feminine, are going to be turned into masculine. So don't ask me why, but un garagiste is always un garagiste. Even if you have a German text that says Garagist oder Garagistin, like, it just suppresses part of the content. So this is a branding thing, it just doesn't work. And it has no idea what is epicène, so forget about anything that's related to la clientèle, la direction, le personnel, it just doesn't get it. There are only directors and no direction, so I don't know. Also, it really struggles. So in Swiss Germany, they really like talking. Now it's a trend. They duzen, so they talk du. Here, except from IKEA and a couple of mobile stuff, we don't. We may use the first name, so we may say Isaline vous, but it's very rare to have a company that says tu. Tools can't, it doesn't work well, and it's misleading, because even if something that is jetzt aktiv werden, like, it's going to not understand that it's vous actually, and so and then you have a mix of everything. So this is really a struggle in terms of branding. That's especially a struggle if it's a CTA, because you have CTAs and you're hoping people to click, and it just doesn't get it. Like, it's not short and sweet. Like, so I've tried things that are within an email or things that are for buttons. It just, CTAs are really, it's just a shame. Like, also the project names can be really tricky. And project names, they can be linked to conversion and internal linking. So that's an example. In a checklist, something very basic I would always have is the checking of the project name and anything that's internal linking, because you might have a content in French, but then you have, like, it just doesn't get, like, you know, internal link doesn't get it. And that's annoying, because you want people to click here, right? This is the link to your project page. That's too bad, right? They don't have a checklist. They should hire me, you know? But so really, anything that's product name and internal linking, like, bots can't deal well with it. Oh, you have all of this here? I'm sorry. Next. There we go. And there's one thing that Swiss German hates to hear, but which has a big impact, is that actually a more mainstream input is going to have a more mainstream output. So if you include examples, so for instance, say you discuss something that has a geographical impact. For me, it's a lot about des stations de recharge pour voitures électriques. So if you provide in your original text examples that are in both regions, it's going to work better when you translate it, because you're not centered on Zurich, right? Just, yeah, there are some in Crissier, around Lausanne, you know, like even maybe in Valais. So, and that's the thing, like the way you write the content originally has impact. So really that's the thing to remember when you discuss internally, is that if the copywriter, the more they customize and target, the more work there is to customize and target for someone else. Because this happens very frequently with examples, also any names. It's always, I don't know, Rolf, it always like names we don't use, we can't relate to that, right? So really writers also have an influence on how the translatability of the text, and how you can, and what kind of mix you can use to translate it. So that's probably the most important slide you wrap up. So the thing is, I could not discuss numbers 7, 8, and 9, but the thing is, people tend to think of a website like a book. We're going to publish it, and it's published. But in fact, you're going to publish it and you're going to come back to it. And the thing is, if you are strict with your traffic light system, you have the opportunity to compare what is working and what is not working. So let's say you've applied something to a vertical, then you can apply it to another topic on your website and see how it works, you know? So really the thing is to to go like, okay, we're going to publish it, and in another, I don't know, 12, 16 months, we're going to go through it and see what happens. So this is really an ongoing process. So I think I use tools every day. I think they are really useful, and I do think that they really save time. Unfortunately, at this point, and they can't yet, maybe that's good, replace me, you know, and you. But I really think that it's a bonus, it's an added value to use them, because it means that instead of having a content that is translated by translators and like on the whole website, you can have excellent content and maybe a little bit bad content. But the thing is, you will still have excellent content, and years after year, you can build towards that excellent content. So like at the end of the day, the results are going to be better. So I'm really use them. Really, that's good, and do test them. I have a folder full of examples. Like, I know the time is over on early, but I couldn't show all of my examples of what works and what doesn't. But some things works. Like, for instance, ChatGPT works really well to, like, if you work with a dictionary and ask for a synonym, that dictionary is going to provide you a synonym, but it's not going to be able to provide you an expression, a synonym of an expression. Whereas, for instance, ChatGPT can provide you a whole expression, and that's going to be easy to use, but it's not going to be able to replace, like, you need human action to understand what needs to be changed. And for that, I really think having a strict methodology is really helpful, because you know what to expect, and you can brief the person who are doing the translations and the copywriting. Right, that's it. I'm in time. Thank you.
Thank you, Isaline. It's time for questions.
Yeah.
I worked for a company in Lyon who were making football lessons for children, and lessons in French, in German, and in English. So on the website, we were doing the content first in English, then copy-pasting in DeepL in French and copy-pasting in DeepL in German. What a good approach would it be to do things better? Because the boss didn't really understand. Oh, she made a year in a university in Saint-Gall, so she speaks German. It's enough. It's enough for the German part.
So I think which one? Where is the FDP one? So FDP is a good example of people who are high placed and don't get it. So, but also what really works is talking about money. You need to show numbers and talk about money. You need to make them understand that what they are not, it's a cost of opportunity, but you need to put some numbers on that cost of opportunity. So to build a case, you need to show what I would do is I would check in the Search Console what those pages are actually ranking for, and put it next to it, like how much organic traffic you really have. And then see how much, like, can you compare it with the English? So bigger, not absolute numbers, because if the English market is bigger, but then you look with a tool like Ahref and see what's the actual opportunity of traffic that you could have, what's the monthly search volume. And then you come with what your website is doing and what your website could be doing. Yeah? and you make it, and search, keyword research is really tricky in French, because like you can have one concept which is different keywords. So when you do your keyword research, remember this, because a word with and without accent is one concept but two words. So you need to add the search volume for that. So that's something everybody forgets. And same with the plural. So really, so that's the thing. So you need to make your case sort of shiny. You can agglomerate some numbers, and have some red and green, and to make them understand. Because really, the only thing anyone like hierarchy understand is money, how much they're losing. But the cost of opportunities but it's difficult to show. But search volume is a killer.
Any other question?
Thank you for the presentation. Question about working with developers. Have you experienced working with people having their own tools on their system, like Copilot installed directly on VS Code or IntelliJ, or automatic developer tools like Sky? I don't remember the Sky translation, I think.
Yeah.
It's something that the developer sends the code automatically on the cloud and it translates. How do you have feedback on those tools? And
yeah, so that's the out of context. So that's basically like translating an Excel sheet.
yeah,
And that's what you're going to miss, especially is the interaction with the user. So anything that's menu architecture and call to action is really tricky with that way of translating. But I know that the thing is, it can be a first step, but personally, I would make a hierarchy of anything that's important in SEO and conversion, and anything that's relating to URL, so anything that is slugs and menu, like really architecture, I would really have a human do it. And I would say that would be my content distribution and say, okay, so that's actual content of the page. Let's go with your tool. But what's the structure of the website, which has, because the menu and the slugs have a long-term impact on SEO as well. And this is, the drama is to have special characters in URL.
yeah.
And that's, so you need a human to do that or an extra step. So, but this is something, so I would say, I understand it's quicker, but within the bulk of what you're exporting and using a tool for, can we humanly quality check just this selection of points?
In my experience working with the Sky translation, I think it was like 3 years ago. You push your code on the cloud. It does the auto translation, but then it sends an email to the people that the reviewers, and they must check and validate everything.
Yeah.
And you can also add context, like you can say this is a title, this is a call to action, this is a slug, and it tries, I think, and also the reviewer know that it did a good job or not. And,
so I would say,
yeah.
I think from what I heard, it works a bit like Wiglot,
I
like
don't
you
know
can
about
have
it.
something automatic on your WordPress. And the thing is, again, a translation is an adaptation.
Yeah.
So who are these people? Like, what's their briefing? Did you brief them? Are they French? I don't know. But so...
yeah, you're right. That's a good question, because the idea, I think, is often that you don't have enough people that speak all the languages you want to target. So you have those kind of tools, because actually the reviewer is not much better than the AI or.
So I think it's a first step.
Yeah,
it's like if you have budget to prioritize a couple of things that it's important, like I would say the service page and the home page and anything architecture, and that would be better, because you have the chance to really have a human working through it within context with the design. But I'm not saying don't use the tools, like they are helpful, but then track it. Like I'm interested to know, does that convert? If it converts, good for you. I mean.
Good question. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Last question, and then
we
for...
have two. We have two questions.
Two questions, okay. Two questions, and then let's proceed to the apéro, and if ever you have any other question. On the chat? Okay.
I have one question because I'm curious, to what extent is it even possible to kind of, not really block, but maybe discourage traffic from another country? Because I was just thinking, so for example, when I'm looking for a local service, I tip, or like local whatever, I add like, let's say, Jour férié France or Jour férié Genève. But I'm a foreigner and I'm not sure if this is something what French or Swiss people do. And I wonder if this is the only kind of way, if content should be organized around these keywords, to like, as we as content, let's say as a content creator, should I add like whatever France, whatever Genève, whatever Lausanne? Is this a good practice or not really? Or
so I think first is checking the keywords and the search volume and making sure that you, like if you are in Ahref or such a tool, you really check that Switzerland is chosen. So you know, so you really know, like first is choosing the keywords, and of course choosing like how you write the content. Because the thing is, there might be, the search intent might be a little bit different between France and Switzerland. And we might not have exactly the same questions. But that's so in my experience, anything like lots of featured snippets are taken by websites that are in France and referring to laws and stuff that we don't care. So obviously it's interesting if you know that to happen to add, this is like the place you're talking about. But yeah, working on the content, but that's definitely really difficult. You're not the first one, but yeah.
Can imagine, thanks.
But for anything that is really a local service where you physically need to move, or you have someone who physically needs to move to your home, you can have like pages, you know, like type of service place, type of service page, and you have a succession of pages that are really targeted. So that would be the architectural, like structural options beyond the content.
Thank you.
Merci.
We have one more question from the chat, from Francisco. Is there any questions or points to consider to help prioritize vertical vs horizontal translation?
Yeah. So how to choose if you want to prioritize a vertical or a step in the channel is really either what's costing you the more money. So where are you really wasting money? Like, so that would be customer support. What does everybody asks? So the first thing would be, you need to discuss with, you know, other departments to understand what are the issues really and what's not working. Also, another thing is discussing with the product department. Do they have a new product? Every company has a main topic, at least yearly. Like, do we want to focus on that topic? So the way to discuss this is either targeting where you're wasting money, or you're okay with wasting and you want to target where you're losing opportunity. So, and that would be a new product, or, you know. But so that's the difficult part. For me, that's the part of the briefing. So it's for the client to decide. I'm usually asking the questions. But it really comes to having an alignment with the different departments to understand what matters at this point.
Okay. And we have another one. If you optimize, for example, for UK and US both in English, how do you manage duplicate content if you have specific pages for each country?
So yes, so that's the same as Swiss German and German. So that happens a lot, much closer to us. And again, that goes through content. So you need like, for instance, so I know about e-commerce. I know that UK and US, they talk about clothing very differently. Like, you know, they don't call a jumper, I don't know, but they talk. So you really need to do a keyword research and understand, again, it goes through how they speak about something, but also what they need. They might have different concern, like they might have different questions, because in the cultural, like culturally, they might have different difficulties. So you need to address those difficulties.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you again, Isaline.
Thank you.
Okay. I will wrap up this Webmardi and we will play the count after that. But before that, we have some slides to see together. Let's open my slideshow. Okay. So what's the next event of the Webmardi? It's a technical one. We will talk about mainly JavaScript, I think. The primary title was about React, so I think it will be about JavaScript. It will be at 42 Lausanne, so near Renan. We will talk about PWA, especially local first mean PWA. If you are in the tech, if you're a developer, or if you know developers, I'm pretty sure they can be interested. If you're not developers, but maybe you want to be one, or want to know what is a PWA or what is local first application, it could be interesting for you. It will be also in English. It will be the 4th of March. And that's it for it. It's already live, I'm not sure. Yeah, it's live. So you can already register. We will have maybe 30 seats, so yeah, it will be pretty quickly filled up, I think. You should stay informed about our slides, about our events, sorry. We have many, many social networks. You can choose your poison. We don't have anymore a newsletter, so you have to follow us on one of those social networks. We are on Mastodon, X for Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever. We have a website, if you prefer using the website. Just get in touch on this website. If you're not already on those, yeah, B. If you want to get every pictures we have, today I take the pictures. Usually a photographer takes the pictures. You can see all those pictures on the Instagram, okay? I say goodbye to the stream because we will, sorry to interrupt.